Welcome, friends, to another Wolff Responds. I want to talk to you today about something that's been bothering me for a long time, and perhaps some of you as well. It's what happens mostly quietly, mostly with minimum news coverage in the courts of the United States, from the Supreme Court at the top all the way down both the federal, state, and local levels. The right wing in American politics has for a long time understood that even though it's very powerful in the executive branch and very powerful in the legislative branch with its donations, its lobbyists, its contributions, and let's face it, its bribes, that there's a third branch of government and it wants to control that too. And it has been very successful in filling the bench, as it's called, with people who will tilt in the conservative direction. Three recent decisions demonstrate, and I want to talk to you about them, the systematic tilt of the courts in favor of the employer and against both the public the employer is supposed to serve and the employees upon whom the employer relies. The first case is perhaps the one you know least about and the most recent. An appeals court gave a decision that denied to the Department of Transportation, a federal branch of our government, blocked them from requiring airline companies to let the public know openly, honestly, and in advance what an airline ticket costs. What are the fees associated with it? So there should be no misleading, surprising, or let's be frank, fake statements about what it costs. That is something the public wants. That is something the public needs. And that is something that the appeals court just turned down. The Department of Transportation cannot have a rule mandating that on the part of the airlines, who are notorious for springing unexpected, unknown, unjustified fees. So you get attracted to a low ticket price and then discover what you're actually going to have to pay for it. Shame on the appeals court. The next case is as gross as that one, although different. In this case, a series of courts in the state of Ohio, culminating in the Ohio State Supreme Court, the highest court in the state of Ohio. All of them agreed on the following. A patron went into a restaurant and ordered what he believed was boneless wings. He ordered the dish called boneless wings because he believed that the wings he would buy and eat were boneless. Unfortunately, there was a bone in the boneless wing. It caught in his throat and it did him severe physical damage. Guess what? He sued. He sued the restaurant for misleading him. The Supreme Court and the courts below it held that the boneless wing is really a reference to how the chicken is prepared, how it's cooked. It shouldn't be understood as having no bones. They found for the restaurant. The owner of the restaurant overjoyed. I want you to think about that the next time you were to believe what the menu says. Come on. Who's tilting in what direction? You're protecting the profits of enterprises, in this case restaurants, at the risk of the damage to a much larger group of people, the patrons of the restaurants of this country. And all the man wanted, really, was to have a statement in a restaurant menu: boneless, if you want to use it, boneless wings doesn't mean that there's no bone. Okay. Forewarned is forearmed, we're supposed to believe. But the court doesn't think the restaurant has an obligation to do anything. It's up to you. And if you get hurt, well, that's just too bad. And then the last one, which on one level is most egregious. And here we're talking about the United States Supreme Court. A few weeks ago, found in favor of a town in Oregon, which has been a host to a growing number of homeless people who don't earn enough money. By the way, many of them are employed, but do not earn enough money to cover their medical expenses, their food, and so they save on rent by living in a tent in some inconspicuous place, or a conspicuous place if they can't find one in the town. Been going on for a while. The town didn't want it. The good people of this town didn't want to have to look at homeless people. Did the town provide shelters in lieu of housing? No. Did the town provide anything in the way of housing for these people? No. But it wanted to get rid of them, so it knocked down the tents in which they were sleeping. A court case emerged. The idea was either you provide shelter or you don't. If you provide shelter and people don't make use of it, that's another situation. But this town didn't provide shelter. And the Supreme Court of the United States said, okay, you can do that. And then, a couple of weeks later, the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, gave the order to do that anywhere and everywhere in the largest state of this country. This is called criminalizing the poor, turning the misery and suffering of poor people already into a crime. That town in Oregon had issued tickets to these homeless people living in the tents. And of course, they couldn't pay. And then they were arrested for not paying their tickets. You are criminalizing the poor. This is an old medieval activity that we thought was behind us thousands of years ago, hundreds of years ago. It isn't. Modern day capitalism's dubious achievements include not being able to provide a home. And you know, the reason for that is simple and cannot be overstated. In order to have a decent place to live, you either have to earn enough money to pay for it, or the prices have to come down so that you can afford it with the money you have. One or the other, or some combination. This is not rocket science. Capitalism in the United States cannot and does not do it for hundreds of thousands of people. And what is it doing in the face of that failure? Compounding it. It's now throwing those people in jail. It's now knocking down the little tents they erect to get in from the cold and the rain. Shame is what the world will say and is saying about this. And it's the courts, as much or more, every day, quietly across this country, that are making this happen. No wonder people are thinking and saying things like, are we headed in a fascistic direction? Is this the way people who have money are going to treat the people who don't? Is this what the government is going to be called upon to do? as we sit by and what? Watch? Come on, folks. It's time to stand up and change the direction of this country. Let's do that. If interventions like these strike you as useful, please share this video with friends, relatives, neighbors, whoever can see it, whoever you think might be interested. And of course, and we leave this always to the last, if you can help us defray the expenses of producing and distributing these videos, please do so. Go to our website, it's all explained there, democracyatwork.info. Very simple. Thank you.